Good morning, family and friends. Today is October 8th, 2021. Just wanted to come on today and present a few talking points that's going on in the news, give you my perspective on it, and hopefully it can help you formulate some sort of plan of preparation. Okay, first, we're going to start off with China Taiwan. War drums are beating between different nations right now, and definitely China Taiwan is one to two. Taiwan is preparing for war. China seems to be preparing for war with just about anybody. I mean, they threatened last month to nuke Taiwan. They threatened this week to nuke Japan. Uh, they even threatened last month to nuke Australia, if you can believe that. I mean, I don't know what's going on in the region, but China's definitely getting aggressive. Now, I will say, if you think back to the Great Depression, all right, the world was plunged into a very bad economic time. And if you remember, we was in it for somewhere between probably 15, 20 years. Took World War II to bring us out of it. Now, China right now has got a company called Evergrande, a major real estate firm that went under. Now, back in 2008 to 2011, the United States went into a deep recession behind the Shearson Lehman incident and the housing bubble bursting. And right now, Evergrande almost looks to be China's Shearson Lehman event. Then you add to it that just in the past week, another company, major company, like Evergrande is, uh, Fantasia, they filed uh, where they're going under. And, that's two major companies right there. I mean, that probably would have any nation circling the toilet bowl right now of getting ready to falter with their economy. Now, again, if China went into war, they try to bring it out, but Evergrande's been seen as being too big to fail, so they're going to try to bail them out of their 300 to 400 billion in debt. And Evergrande is like a giant octopus. They've got their hands or tentacles stretched to different banks and economies throughout the world. Uh, if they go under, they take a lot of international investors with them. And some of those investors are banks in our own country. Then with Fantasia going under, they basically uh, could not pay a $200 billion bond that they'd got from the United States. So they've defaulted on that. Again, how many banks were involved? U.S. banks was involved in that can cause an economic impact on us. Then take also in consideration that Taiwan right now, we're talking supply chain. Taiwan is making most of the computer chips for our vehicles, phones, RVs, computers, anything that's electronic almost that's got computer chips in it's coming from Taiwan. China's making 80% of some of the drugs and generic drugs that's on the market. India makes quite a bit of some of the rest, but China makes quite a bit of that. They make everything from generic drugs and regular drugs down to toiletries. If a war broke out between them, I want you to understand that there would be a major supply chain interruption there. We depend upon a lot of products from China and Taiwan, and without those products, many of us would have some issues. Now, to me, we should have learned when we first went to the first lockdown under COVID that we need to be manufacturing this stuff in this country again and not depending upon overseas to supply us with our daily needs. But seeing that that lesson hasn't been learned, if those two nations get into it, if you don't have things stockpiled to try to last you through a bad period, then expect some major supply chain interruptions. You're going to have to learn to find a way around using certain products in your day to day life. So That threat right there, them two getting into it, it's going to be catastrophic. And if we go in on the side of Taiwan, which there's a chance that we may, China supplies us with an awful lot of stuff, and that would immediately be cut off. So take that in consideration. Next point I want to bring up, it's going to be this U.S. debt that we're being faced with right now on October 18th. The interest payment that we're supposed to pay. Now, true, they can come up with emergency legislation, kick the can down the street a little bit further to December 1st. They can get Congress to pass some things and increase the debt, raise the debt ceiling, which is similar to you taking a credit card and going to your creditor and saying, I can't make the interest payment on my card. Can you raise my credit line so I can borrow against it and pay it? Or they could go ahead and default on the debt. Now, worst case scenario, let's say they choose to default on the debt just temporarily. I want to make sure that everybody understands that most of the social programs, Social Security, Medicare, SNAP, just to name a few, will cease to exist at that point. There will be no payments going out. Those programs will be shut down if the government defaults. I myself am on Social Security. I depend upon that check to pay my monthly bills. So I've got great concern of what they're going to do. And I know in my mind that if they choose to default, they're choosing on purpose. They're going to bring the pain to the American people. So keep your eye on that situation. They try to play a little political doublespeak and say, well, the crisis has been averted. And they were basically talking about, I can't think of what it was, but it was a very minor thing of what they were talking versus what the U.S. debt is. The U.S. debt is the threat to the American people and them being able to pay their bills, the government being able to pay their bills. But keep that in mind that October 18th, it's right here in our face. Watch that situation closely because it can plunge this nation into some trouble. I mean, it would have a major impact on even the stock market in the event we chose to default on that. Then the next thing I want to discuss is going to be the shortages that we're being faced with right now. There's so much going on. If you look around the world right now, all the ports are backed up with container ships. They're just sitting out there in the ocean at anchor. They're not even bringing them in to unload them. I've heard many reasons why this is, but one thing is for sure, if they're not being unloaded, supplies are not coming in to go to the warehouses, and those warehouses are emptying out, and pretty soon you're going to see, if you should already be seeing it now, that there's shortages in the stores. Now you add those shortages with inflation as well as shrinkflation, which means you pay more for a product and you're getting less. Like for example, the cereal boxes, the bags inside could be smaller or they may not be as full. Containers could be smaller, jars could be smaller. You're getting fewer ounces and you're paying more for it. And then with inflation, you're seeing the rising costs of products that is definitely putting people's budgets into a hurt locker right now. And those prices are going to go up again after the middle part of this month. So, because those food crop reports should be coming in soon, we should be able to see, due to the anomalous weather, the fires, the floods, the freeze storms, the major hurricanes, everything, and even the drought, the effect that all that has had on food production this year. We're about to find that out. And if those reports come in short, you can expect higher prices. And, let me see. And then also there's the fact of manufacturing. You got strikes going on right now, like Kellogg's went out on strike. and you got other companies on strike. And then due to COVID, and also due to shortages in plastics, tin, different things, bottling companies are having a hard time getting plastic bottles and jugs in to meet the demand for water. Uh, Tin could affect uh, canned goods. And then just knowing that some of the plants right now around the world are down due to COVID, their employees' base is full of infected people and they had to shut the plants down, that's going to affect supply. Then you have to take in consideration the amount of time it takes for a ship to sail from China or from overseas over here. That's anywhere from 20 to 40 days. So even if they were to suddenly start rushing stuff over here, you still got that time period that you'd have to make it through until the supplies arrived if things got short. I'm going to say right at this point, with everything that's going on, and there's rumors that we might be going into a lockdown after the first of the year. From what I'm understanding, they're giving vendors right now a chance to build up a bank, and they're giving them the holiday season to do so. That way, if we go into a lockdown somewhere in January or February, they will have a certain amount of money supposedly saved up in the bank to help them weather the storm. Because right now, if we went into a lockdown, the majority of mom and pops and small business, it would be like an apocalypse. Most of them will not be able to reopen. And I even know businesses in my area that's already told me that they're not going to reopen if we go into another lockdown. They're done. And right now, they have a chance to try to build a bank for the remainder of this year. And that's going to be difficult to do because people are starting to hold on to their money. And then there's also the fact that uh, even in my case, I'm suffering doing the gun shows because my suppliers are running out of product because they can't get supplies in themselves to supply me. So the shortages, I'm even feeling that. So right now, they're trying to build a bank. You know, if you like particular businesses, you want to show your support for them, go out and spend some money with them. And that is actually going to help them if we do go into a lockdown of being able to come back when it's over with if they're a good vendor that you like dealing with. You know, give them a little bit of support. But I'm saying all this to say that between the politics, the weather, uh, you've got fires, see, inflation, shortages, shrinkflation, cyber attacks. These are things that are affecting supply right now, and you want to be able to get out in front of this. You can't be reacting to it. You want to start to develop some sort of system because all this stuff combined together, and with what's all on in the world right now, I'm going to say it's putting people into a hurt locker. Their budgets cannot withstand what's happening. You almost have to have two incomes right now. I mean, if you're a single person, you have to have your main job income and some sort of side hustle that's bringing in money. And if not, then the old adage, two is one is none, will apply here. Two people can make it a whole lot better than one. You're going to need those two incomes. And you need two people working together as a team right now to try to weather this storm that's ahead of us. And I'm not even going to call it a storm, I'm going to call it an economic earthquake. You want to be out in front of this thing because even the president is telling you little nuggets right now. He's done said it about 6 times that we're heading into a long, dark winter. And he's also said that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And your vice president has said that if you want something for Christmas right now, you better be out shopping for it at this period in time, not later, but right now, if you want to get it. That's a little nugget of information to indicate the type of shortages that we're going to be faced with. That's in our near future. Now, what are a few solutions that I suggest? Right now, you should be stockpiling certain products. I mean, right now, the best thing you can do is try to put together 100 days worth of food and water inside your home. You want to be stocking up meds, over-the-counter meds, anything that gives relief for colds, flus, viruses, whatever. Products that can build your immunity. Start putting some of that stuff back. Uh, Everyday essentials that you would use, from toilet paper, paper towels. Uh, I don't care if it's lotion. Look on the labels. See where it's manufactured. If it's Mexico or Canada, you might be all right. But if it's India, Taiwan, China, somewhere in that vicinity, that's a product you want to be stockpiling. With the shortages that are occurring in the stores right now, and the stores can no longer hide it. You can walk into a store and you can see it. Those items, if you want to have them in the future, get out in front of it, start stockpiling it, so when those products start to disappear for a period of time, you're going to make it through the storm. When strikes or anything that's happening, it's just going to add to the problem. You're out in front of it. You've already planned ahead. You're stocked up. You're prepared. It's just another day for you. You're going to thrive through that situation, where others are going to complain and falter and might resort to extreme measures to try to acquire the items that they're going to need. Because as they say, desperate people will do desperate acts. And you don't want to be that kind of person. So right now, you also want to put together some sort of a emergency fund. That's going to be crucial. And whatever you do, don't put that in the bank. Keep that at your house. Because if a cyber attack was to occur to shut down the power grid, or if the banks would declare a holiday like they have in other countries, you'll have money at your house to be able to pay bills with and hopefully outlast the situation. Without that emergency fund, if your bank accounts went down due to a cyber attack, or a bank declared a holiday for a period of time because the economy's collapsing or whatever, the only money you're going to have at your house is the little loose change you'll probably find in the back of your couch or something like that. Don't put yourself in that kind of risk. Get you an emergency fund put back, stockpile food, water, meds, emergency essentials, and just remember, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. All the panic buying that's about to start occurring is going to be done by those who haven't prepared. It won't be the preppers or those who got out in front of this. It's going to be the last minute people who got blindsided because they didn't want to see what was right before their own eyes, because it violated their own sense of what reality is. Their little fantasy world they're living in, their baller world, or whatever you want to call it. But everyone's going to feel this. Nobody's going to be able to avoid it unless you're extremely rich. And even the rich right now are buying bunkers, they're buying land, they're buying ships to sail in. They're preparing. So why aren't you? Remember, get out in front of this. You got yourself and your family to think about. And like I said, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So I'm going to end at that. You guys have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.